Hello, it's Cameron here. I am now back from Croatia, so going to be making another video. I did actually make some video notes and sort of kept up with the market whilst I was in Croatia, but I sort of made a video more talking about oil specifically, more broadly energy, but a lot in oil, and it was basically out of date by the time I got back, so I thought I'd just sort of um, make a different one, more talking about the broader state of the market. But yeah, good to be back. Let's get into it. So for starting off, I know originally what the Fed was talking about was they wanted a sort of soft landing, and they would be able to drop inflation whilst keeping employment still down and keeping growth at around sort of 1.7%, maybe 1.7% again next year, but then looking sort of 1.9 the year after. And the reports I've been reading is basically about how I think it's like 90% or something of banks believe that there's going to be a recession by the end of 2023, and the reports I've been reading is more about how that we are probably in that recession now. So obviously we've got the quarter one results for 2022. We are still waiting on the second quarter results for 2022. And a lot of people believe that we've had a sort of or the US has had a sort of mini recession now, and this sort of talks a little bit more than that. And I think, yeah, so that was the thing. I think most of the articles were saying they think we've had a mini recession now, but then there'll be probably be like a more major recession later on. And I think the main point, or the main speculative point around that was again what Russia does with oil, whether they like just completely cut off oil from or cut off oil to Europe, that sort of thing. And if that does happen, I do think you could see oil hit like 150, $200 a barrel, I think, quite quickly. Again, if that does happen, I know I've got a lot of my portfolio in energy already, and obviously if there is a major global recession, then obviously energy will take a hit. However, if Russia does completely stop importing oil to the EU, then it will have a spike. So it's really quite dependent on both of those. And I think basically. So I'm talking a bit more broadly. I oh yeah, sorry, is some of the graphics that I've shown in the past basically been speaking about by the time a recession's announced, or like people realize that we are in a recession for definite, usually most of the damage to the market has been done. Another graphic which I think illustrates this quite well is this one here. I mean, it's quite a small sample size, so there's only sort of 5 times it's actually happened, but it looks at what when the S&P's declined by more than 15% in the first half of the year, what happens in the second half. And you can see 100% of the time it's gone up in the second half. And I was looking at I'd probably use 15% as more of the average here, as like the 23.66 is quite swayed by the 1932 result. But yeah, then so I think one of the things I wanted to talk about with this is the reason for this is because once we are in a recession, the Fed starts like lowering rates and starting doing quantitative easing, which isn't the case here basically. So obviously alongside it we've got rampant inflation. I think an article which shows this quite well is, if there is a recession, don't count on the government to come with stimulus checks and the like. That's because they're not going to be doing loads of quantitative easing, because I think a lot of the reason we are in a recession is because of this rampant inflation, which has a lot to do with like oil and stuff. And if the economy starts going really badly, they're not going to start throwing money at people, because it's just going to drive inflation even higher. Which is why I'm not 100% sure on this graphic, if I'm being honest. I mean, I think especially with only 5 results, I think it's a bit misleading. I'd need to do more research into what the sort of inflation figures in the market situation was around each of these. But yeah. A final little bit that I wanted to talk about as well is well, this article was from the Wall Street Journal, but I'm a poor student, so it's on this weird knockoff website. Um, but it's basically how Biden might be easing Chinese tariffs to help with the inflation situation. So this is sort of similar as to what I was just talking about, where their inflation's very, very high, and obviously if they do decrease Chinese tariffs, that's going to hurt American business to some extent. However, it will lower inflation, and it's sort of a trade-off with that, I guess. I mean, I'm quite interested because it is like the midterms are coming up quite soon, so I'd be surprised if you went with this before then, because I feel like it could damage the damages results in the midterms. But yeah, that's just yeah. So that's just a quick market update. Sorry if it's a bit all over the place. I've been sort of catching up a bit more. I'll quickly look at the S&P 500 as well. Still tanking further. I think, oh yeah, for the 15%, I think I worked out was around 14. No, around 4,400. For would be what it would hit by the end of this year if we're looking at that historical median. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I think one of my videos hit 25 views whilst I was in Croatia, so that was pretty. That went viral basically. So yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later.